Inclusion, HAIC 2020, so that we can keep track and document this incredible event. So again, my name is Mariella, and I am the founder of Project Hearing. Let's get this started. Are we ready? So let's do this. So our very first agenda for the very first day of the 7-day conference is we're going to go over the privacy notice, followed by the Zoom link, the Zoom layout. Then we're going to discuss the why of this conference, who we are, the discussion topics for today, the ground rules, and then the conference will finally start conferencing. So privacy notice for all of you is that we are recording this conference, so you will be able to see this entire conference. After the conference, we'll put it on YouTube. We'll figure out the logistics of this after the conference, but just know that any questions, if we maybe mention your name during the call, we are recording it. So the Zoom layout, you will see on your screen, you will see my face, and in a minute, you will probably also see Kathleen, who will be our very first presenter for the day. At the very bottom, you'll see a few buttons. One of them is Q&A. That's where you will be referring your questions, or if you have any concerns that you need us to address, just go ahead and click on that button. So the why. What led to the creation of the Hearing, Access, and Inclusion Conference? So today is a really, really important day. If you are a person with a disability, it is the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Now that is a huge deal because the Americans with Disabilities Act was actually signed just 30 years ago. That's younger than most people I know. And before the ADA, if you were a person with a disability, you were considered as less than. And it's actually a very interesting topic, and I'm so excited for Kathleen to talk about it in a minute. But the ADA was the very first piece of legislation, federal legislation, that gave people like me rights under the federal law. And because it's the 30th anniversary of that law, the president that signed it, the first President Bush, has not been able to see just how much progress that created, just really the legacy of the ADA. There is a generation after the ADA and a generation before the ADA. So the legacy of the first President Bush is the ADA, and I'm so honored that we get to celebrate it and live it. Like, we're living history right now. And that's one of the reasons why this incredible team of people that you see here, we have Seb, who is the one that was kind of like leading this from she's the talking voice that some of you have been hearing. We also have Patrick, who is the IT mastermind behind the entire Zoom that you're seeing. And we also have Natasha, who is just absolutely brilliant and has been just really managing the operation. So if you've been seeing emails from MailChimp and Eventbrite, that's Natasha. We've been working so hard behind the scenes to make this event the best darn thing that you've seen in Zoom for a while. Also, if you have any challenges, oh, actually, I realized I haven't been sharing my screen. But anyway, I'll share the presentation with you guys later. But we also have Natasha, who has been the mastermind behind a lot of the operational pieces that we have here. So today we're going to be covering two very important topics. We're going to be having Kathleen, who will be talking about the history behind a movement that precedes the Americans with Disabilities Act, known as Step Precedent Now. And then after that, I will be leading a 30-minute workshop on 30 tools in 30 minutes that focus on hearing accessibility and inclusion, and also provided information for allies to not be assholes. I'll be getting to that in just a minute, but I wrote this really incredible book called 30 Tools in 30 Days, tools for people with hearing disabilities to become empowered and for allies to not be assholes. And I am going to summarize that whole thing into a 30-minute presentation. Stay tuned for that. I go right after Kathleen. So some ground rules is use the Q&A if you have any questions during the presentation, any technical challenges. Second, be respectful. We know that different people have different opinions. There may be some disagreements within the community, but try to keep the conversation respectful. Third, we are trying to foster an accessible and inclusive space, so try to honor our commitment to doing that. And respect bubbles, meaning be conscious that not everyone has the same perspective that you do. And then finally, be present. So we've put a lot of thought into it. We hope that we can entertain you and give you lots of informative information for the next 30 minutes. And without further ado, I am going to introduce our first speaker, Kathleen, who will be talking about Deaf President Now and how it shaped the world. Kathleen, are you ready? Yes, all right, Kathleen, the floor is yours. All right, so Kate, our interpreter and Kathleen are figuring out some minor things. They'll let us know when they're ready.
Okay. Thank you. This is the sign language interpreter. I appreciate that.
I can hear you. I can hear you. Okay.
Hi there. Testing the interpreter's voice. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you for the tech support. Okay. Wonderful. Hello, everyone. Let me just get, hello, can everyone see me okay? Can everyone see me? Okay. I can't see everyone. So I'm just gonna focus on the eyes that I have. My name is Kathleen L. Brockway. And I appreciate you for inviting me to your keynote this evening and talking about Deaf President Now and how that has truly changed my world and the world around us. I'm an author. I have published 2 books. One is The Deaf History of Detroit. I was around during Deaf President Now, and a lot of my research has gone into that because of my experience on campus as a junior in high school at the time. My goal is to truly be a deaf historian using social media platforms, and I'm a graduate student at Grocher College. I wanted to do a multi-size ethnographer and curator and more. So my high school was on campus at Gallaudet at the time when Deaf President Now started. And many of my upperclassmen, really, the call to action was to protect our gates. And I will say that that really changed my perspective. And that was the moment that I really started looking at the history that might be happening that day. And looking back now, realizing that I was a part of history. Now this These two next quotes can truly be triggering to someone who is deaf or hard of hearing. Jane Spillman, who was a board member at Gallaudet University at the time when Deaf President Now happened, was quoted as saying, "Deaf people are not ready to function in a hearing world." Another quote from a Gallaudet University faculty stated, "Throughout the years, deaf people have been made, shaped, and controlled by hearing people." And I believe that really caused some of the anger and the action that was taken during Deaf President Now. At that time, a new president had been appointed, and as had been historically followed, the president of Gallaudet University had been hearing. Even though there were candidates that were deaf and hard of hearing with the same education and professional experience that were available to be hired, they still picked a hearing person. This is another slide that also can be a trigger warning. And it comes from over our many, many years of our history by Aristotle. So that those that are born deaf all become senseless and incapable of reason. Now, this is from one of our famous philosophers in 355 BC. So many times we've been viewed as second-class citizens. Again, reaching back to that has really caused a lot of the anger and outrage that caused Deaf President Now actions to take place. So a little history of Deaf President Now. March 8th to March 13th was the time that the protest took place. And I was a member. Many of us were really encouraged by fellow classmen to become involved. There were 4 primary leaders of the movement, all of them Gallaudet students at that time. Brigitte Furl, Jerry Calval, Gregory Lilbach, and Timmery Raris. Many underclassmen looked up to them and learned so much insight by their actions and their leadership during the movement. And seeing them move forward and push what the students wanted really inspired many of us to get more involved socially and be a part of that change. Also, there was a wave of communication at that time. That week was truly powerful. And the key was communication among the members of the community. Now, at the time, TDDs were used, which really carried messages across the deaf community all over the United States and caused a communication network to occur. Now, remember, the internet was still in infancy at this time. So TDDs were still considered sacred to us as far as communicating with each other. Also, the use of media and media people coming and giving us the attention that the movement really needed, and using that to allow our voices and our hands to be heard. Of course, captioning was available for some of the news feeds. So that also carried our message and our voice to people in the community and allowed for support. I know some of you may remember the old-fashioned captioning, but it has changed greatly.
Kathleen, one thing is your slides are not showing. Do you want to show your slides?
Oh, I thought I had shared them. I apologize.
No, the same thing happened to me.
Can you see them now?
We heard the entire thing you said. It's been great. I just want to make sure that if you have slides to share, that they show.
Okay, let me see if I can share them. I apologize. Hold on one second.
It's the green button at the bottom. It says share screen. It's right in the center. There we go. So now you want to, exactly. You're good to go.
Okay. Thank you. Interpreter was muted by accident again. Thank you very much. Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. Thank you for your patience. Did you want me to start? This is Kathleen speaking. Did you want me to start over with my slides? Okay, I will keep going where I was. Great, thank you. Again, I apologize for that. I thought I had hit share screen, but now you can see my PowerPoint. That will be very exciting. So again, just a recap of what I was speaking about, really the beginning of social media and how that had a strong effect on us. And many times we didn't have as much access to communication as we were growing to have at that time. Now, the Deaf President Now movement really emerged as a new lens for many of us to look at deaf rights and accessibility for the community. It truly changed my understanding of what rights are, particularly as a deaf person. There was much media presence on campus at the time. And I didn't know it until much later, but my mom created a scrapbook of all the news articles that she was able to find, including some of the photography that was taken. Of course, pre-smartphone. So it was much more paper at that point. Of course, iPhones have changed our way of communicating drastically now, but my mom was able to capture much of that. And our discussion became so much louder because our message was carried through multiple channels out to the community. So March 13th of 1988, history was made. The demands of the movement were met, and I, King Jordan, became the first deaf president of Gallaudet University.
Kate, Kathleen, we're having a slight problem. It seems that Kathleen, when you share, no, it's not you, hold up, let me explain. When you share your PowerPoint, it takes off the ASL. So it only shows Kate and the PowerPoint, but it doesn't show you signing. So Zoom is limited in what we can show. We can only show you, Kathleen, and Kate, or we can show Kate and the PowerPoint.
I have a solution, Mariella. Anyone who is having an issue seeing Kathleen and the interpreter and her screen should go to their settings and change it to gallery view. That's in the top right corner. So if it's in speaker view, you will not see Kathleen signing. If you change it to gallery view, you will see all three.
Are we comfortable with that? Yeah.
This is Kathleen speaking. Yeah, if you can do that, or you can even pin my video, which are the 3 buttons on the top right-hand corner of my video.
Perfect. All right, back on you go.
This is Kathleen speaking. Can everyone see me?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Great. Again, I apologize. I will just keep going. I'm so excited about this presentation.
Okay, back you go.
So truly, this was a moment in history at Gallaudet. So March 13th, 1988. So as a participant in Deaf President Now and looking back at our experiences and some of the chants that we used as movement members, and I'll start these videos so you can see them. As you can see, Deaf President Now. And my next one is the hand waving. Those were many of the mantras that were said throughout the week to encourage the movement to keep going and really became a voice for our community. I look back at those memories and I'm overwhelmed by hands. I remember being exhausted every evening after marching through the campus and just being exhausted. And DPN had many impacts beyond just that week and that moment. The world was opened up to many people, and they realized what the deaf and hard of hearing community could do and how information was shared from that event. People's awareness increased drastically. It had an impact on employment and hiring practices for the deaf community. We saw hiring increase. Many companies changed their protocol and their human resource perspective as to interviews and access and making sure that communication was happening. It could be the need for interpreting, making sure that the news was captioned, etc. Whatever communications were needed to make sure that deaf and hard of hearing people had access, those were truly becoming to fruition. We even saw accessibility on a broader scale. Back in the day, trains often didn't have restrooms, and if they did, they were not accessible for people who needed wider doorways, etc. Public spaces became more accessible to a wide variety of people with disabilities, whether it was restrooms or hallway size or visual access lighting for emergency signals, etc. Educational systems also became more accessible. Deaf President Now did change a lot within the community and the world as a whole as far as accessibility. And we're seeing history in the making continue. Leah Katz Hernandez was the first receptionist in the United States White House who was deaf or hard of hearing. It really proved, many people felt that a receptionist job was not something that anyone who is deaf or hard of hearing could really satisfy the requirements. But Leah proved that wrong by having accessible video phones and greeting guests, etc., etc. Claudia L. Gordon, the first deaf Black female attorney, also served the federal government in a wide variety of areas. She used to work at the White House, serving on the Disability Access Committee. She now works for US Labor. But it's an inspiring stories that show what access can provide as far as opportunities. We're also seeing different job opportunities come forward for the community. We're seeing more interpreters provided for late-breaking news, emergencies, weather alerts, etc. Pre-DPN, often live events, live news conferences were not accessible, but now we're seeing a great increase in that access from emergency services. You see two examples here, Sam Harris, who is a certified deaf interpreter working a press conference. We've seen a huge increase just recently, not only with COVID and the news conferences that are happening there to make sure that we are having access throughout the United States. It has had a strong impact on how deaf, hard of hearing people have access to communication as a whole.
Government access was another area where deaf people had an incredibly huge barrier. After the ADA, access to all kinds of government programs and services became almost seamless. Now that interpretation and captioning is a requirement at those facilities and for those services, we finally have access. Now, of course, there is the issue of balancing the equation of accessibility. It's certainly true that many more businesses and organizations need training and education about the rights of deaf people and the rights of communication access. It's also true that deaf people and deafblind people have the right and should be respected to express their preferred mode of communication. Of course, the person who needs the accommodation is always going to be an expert on what sort of accommodation is most effective for them. They are going to know what meets the demand of communication access. So it is important for deaf and deafblind people to have the power to express their preferred mode of communication access. There are many organizations who have mission and vision statements that emphasize and embrace diversity and inclusion. It's important to also have deaf people in that equation. It's important to show those organizations that the ADA is an important part of that equation. Now, I have been involved in activism all of my life, mainly because I have seen what activism can do. I have seen a community grow in strength and number because of people being involved. I've seen what training can do to educate organizations and populations. Now, of course, we have the power of technology. Back with DPN, we didn't have video vlogs or text messaging, all of this new technology. So it's even more important and more accessible now for people with disabilities to have their voices heard. We're also seeing a lot of signage, like what you can see in this slide, that focuses on inclusions for people with disabilities. And again, here is some promotional material encouraging deaf people to stand up for their rights under the ADA, especially where it comes to getting the vote out. Now, Deaf President Now is a deaf grassroots movement, and you're seeing a similar movement recently today. There is a huge push for advocacy, for communication, for education and jobs. As you can see in this picture, there have been multiple rallies and protests to continue to improve access to our rights and strength for the deaf community to be their own voice. Now, there are four people that I want to specifically mention here. Leah Katz-Hernandez, who I mentioned before, I. King Jordan, Claudia Gordon, and myself, Kathleen Brockaway. You can see that there's a similarity between the three of us. We are in the Susan M. Daniels Disability Mentoring Hall of Fame. Our hope with this organization is to show young people who are deaf and hard of hearing, who have disabilities, that these kinds of improvements can be made through activism. Now, if you have any questions or comments, you can always contact me after the conference. Here's my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and email, and I am open for any questions. I'm sure we're just waiting for people to unmute. Thanks for your patience.
Kathleen, that was so good. Again, for anyone that may have any questions, go ahead and drop them. There should be a button at the very bottom of your Zoom that says Q&A. We are getting all of our questions, submissions there, and so that Kathleen can have access to them. So go ahead at the very bottom of the Zoom, you will see a button that says Q&A, and that's where you should type your question. By the way, Kathleen, so good. I feel like, I just think that just from the conversation, it was like so powerful to just hear about the history from you. Thank you so much for that amazing presentation. So those Q&As, do we have any of those ready, team?
Right now, it seems people are just as enamored with Kathleen's presentation as you were, and they want to know more. So they want Kathleen's contact information, and I say, yes, she is on LinkedIn. We will put that contact information up. Actually, there is a question here. It's for either Kathleen or Mari. What is your feeling about assistive technologies like hearing aids and cochlear implants? It looks like some more questions are coming in, but we'll answer this one first.
Yes, absolutely. That is actually a great question. Obviously, technology has changed immensely since I was younger. The opportunities available to us because of technology are amazing. There's not only hearing aids and cochlear implants, but there's a slew of different kinds of hearing aids that you can choose from. It's actually kind of difficult to choose. So once a deaf person chooses a specific approach to technology that fits them, that fits their communication style, that fits the way that they were raised, you know, more power to them. There's just so many options out there.
So we have another question from Dr. Calais Philippe. His question, Kathleen, is how did the movement work together with the Black community to bring awareness about the deaf population?
That is a great question. Yes. Of course, in the deaf community, there's people of all shapes, sizes, and colors. There were many deaf Black people that were involved in the movement, people even from my high school. You know, honestly, the community itself, we are one big community under that deaf umbrella, and we all supported this movement. So yes, they definitely did come together. And you have to remember too, I was a junior in high school. So during this whole experience, I can say that I was pretty overwhelmed, but we could see that we were going to be the leaders of the future, having gone through this. So yes, absolutely.
My last question for you, Kathleen, is are you planning on writing more books?
Well, I actually have a book being published this fall, and a chapter about deaf studies, a few deaf case studies, particularly related to grassroots movements that will be coming out. So not only are those in the works, but I've got 3 more projects that are coming down the pike. So, you know, there's always something to do. There's so much about the deaf community that people have not been exposed to. So I feel that there's always more to write about. There's always more exposure to provide. And I really want to shine a spotlight on the leadership from the deaf community. The content is endless. So yes, you will definitely be hearing from me in the future.
Awesome. I am so excited to read more about your work and join you on this journey. Your presentation was incredible. Thank you so much for taking the time to put this together and to share your time with all of us and share so much history. So I'm going to let you go now. So for right now, we have a short break from, let's see, from 6:45 to 6:49. So take a break, drink some water, go to the bathroom, and come back for the second workshop for today's conference, 30 tools in 30 minutes. We'll see you in about 4 minutes.
This is Kathleen. I just want to thank everybody for attending. I really appreciate this opportunity. Thanks so much, everyone.
I am going to be playing some background music just for that intermission. Okay.
mail today, maybe tomorrow.
Hello, everyone. I hope that we are all back from our breaks. Hi, I am Sev. I am one of the organizers for the Hearing Access and Inclusion Conference. I have met Mari a couple years ago, actually, and I've come to know her for her generous and passionate spirit. She's been an inspiration since the day I've met her. She created Project Hearing. She's distributed safety bumper stickers for deaf drivers. She co-hosts the blog called Chicas with Disabilities. She does so much and is such a force for good. Mari is a cochlear implant user, and she is also a techie, a big advocate for technology, accessibility, and the intersection of those two things. Most of all, though, her patience is persistent and her spirit is uplifting. Being around her is a gift in itself, and it's honestly clear that she is assured for greatness. I'd like to present to you the organizer for this event, Mariella Paulino.
Thank you, Sev. You're amazing, and I'm so honored I get to work with you, Patrick, and Natasha, and all the other volunteers. Should I slow down? All right. So thank you so much, Sev, for that amazing introduction. I am so honored that I get to work with you, Natasha, and Patrick, and all the other volunteers that have made today happen and manifest. We've been talking about this for a couple weeks, and we're doing it now, live, and it's crazy, and I'm so happy that I get to share this incredible moment with all of you watching this at home. So for today's presentation, I am going to be talking to all of you about 30 tools in 30 minutes. So I have about 30 minutes of your time today. And I hope I make these the most exciting 30 minutes that you have had all week. So just want to confirm, can you see my screen? See. I am assuming that is a yes. You can see my screen? Okay, fantastic. So as Seth introduced me, my name is Mariella, and I am the founder of Project Hearing. Actually, I'm getting a little bit of caption over, I'm getting way too much caption, so let me just turn off the captions here. Okay, subtitles, fantastic. I'm hearing myself, so I know what I'm saying. All right, so 30 shows in 30 minutes. Here's the story of how it all started. Hello, everyone. So one of the biggest problems that I see within the community of people with hearing disabilities is that there's no centralized source of information. I have worked at the intersection of technology and social impact initiatives since 2014. And that has given me the privilege of being on the cutting edge of technology and having access to technology that has the potential to change the lives of people with disabilities. So, the book I'm writing is called 30 Tools in 30 Days. Tools for people with hearing disabilities to live independent lives And for allies, not to be assholes. So the concept of the book is really simple. It's basically I am going to be combining 30 tools that I really, really love and writing a detailed description about them, and then also showing you guys how you can download those tools, share those tools, learn about how they work and why they are beneficial so that you can be a better ally or a more educated person with a disability that can be more independent. Okay, so far so good. The 30, let me just go back on video. So the 30 tools that I will be talking about are 30 tools that I'm very passionate about, and I'm going to keep myself on a timer for 30 minutes, starting now. So that's about one tool every minute. Let's do this. So the first tool I'm going to talk about is the cochlear implant. The cochlear implant is the device that I use to hear. This is actually the very first video. Look at that quality. But I actually made this video because this was back in 2013 when I first made this video. And I made it because I had so many people ask me, hey, what's that thing on your head? And so I was explaining to people that this is a device that I use to hear. The cochlear implant is the first tool that I am including in this presentation because it's the tool that I use to hear. I lost my hearing at the age of 7 to bacterial meningitis. And so my family made a decision to get the cochlear implant so that I could hear again. I love it, and it's one of the best medical decisions my family has made for me. Next tool is the Descript app. So let me tell you about this amazing piece of technology. The script is actually going to be presenting for this conference. The script, basically, you take a video and you submit it into the script as I just showed you in this video. And then the script, what it does is that it is able to auto-transcribe that file. So if you go on social media, you will see a lot of videos are not captioned, and that's because the process of captioning videos can sometimes be so complex. So Descript uses the Google API transcription technology to do this, and when you submit a file into Descript, you're able to edit the file as if it was a Word document. It's revolutionary. And you're able to download the video file that you edited in addition to the caption file known as an SRT. And you do those two things in the script. The next app is Kapwing. Kapwing is like Adobe and the steep learning curve of Adobe for beginners, but just as powerful. Kapwing was actually created by two ex-Googlers, brilliant people, really, really cool. And basically what you're able to do with Kapwing is take that video file and that caption file that you worked on in the script and then transfer them over to Kapwing to be able to get a closed caption video. I've been talking about the script and Kapwing for a while. They are hot technical applications, and they are incredible in terms of creating accessibility in your media content. Check them out. Also very important, don't worry about writing down all the tools I'll be talking about today just because we're going to be sending them out. Next tool, Uber. So Uber is the very, very first application. This was back in 2014 that I thought, oh man, I wonder if there's an app for that. And I came across Uber because I was in a party in middle of nowhere, Virginia, and I wanted to get home, and the person that had driven me to the person that drove me to this party ended up disappearing, and I wanted to get home, and I called the taxi operator. The #1 challenge of people with hearing disabilities is talking on the phone. I talked the taxi operator. I said, hey, I'm trying to get home. This is my address. I was having a really difficult time. The taxi operator was very, very mean to me, hung up on me. I had to call my sister here in New York City to pretend to be me at 4 in the morning to order a cab for me while I was in Virginia. And then I found out about Uber, completely revolutionized my life. I just put in my address where I was and where I wanted to go, and boom, no need to talk over the phone. Wow, crazy. So next is the deaf driver sticker. So I came up with the idea of a deaf driver sticker after being pulled over by a police officer a few years ago. The officer was giving me commands over the loudspeaker. Those commands to me sounded like, whoa, 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 and I could not understand what the officer was saying. That situation could have escalated and possibly ended up very, very badly. So after that whole situation, I had told the officer, hey, is there anything that you recommend that I do? Because the officer had told me, hey, this whole disability thing, you need to figure out what you're going to do about it. And I said, well, what do you suggest I do? He said, that's not my problem. Figure it out. So I came up with this idea of deaf driver stickers. Next is the sonic alert alarm clock. Ooh, I'm on time. I'm fire today. So next is the sonic alert alarm clock. So the sonic alert alarm clock, when I take off my hearing equipment to hear, I am a very deep sleeper because I don't hear anything at all. What that means is that I can practically sleep through a fire alarm, which has happened. And so what the sonic alarm clock will do is that I connect my alarm clock to this vibrator, not your general vibrator, and I put this under my pillow. And so when my alarm goes off, I wake up like this. And that wakes me up. So, and this is so amazing that my own boyfriend bought his own because he loves it. Next is CART. So CART is real-time captioning. So if you've ever been in a courtroom, I'm not going to ask why you were in a courtroom. There you will see someone that types down really fast everything that is being said without missing a beat. That technology can be incredibly useful for someone like me with a hearing disability. And so the real-time captioner is an amazing piece of technology that can serve as a really powerful tool if you're someone with a hearing disability and who needs access. I use CART through my entire college education, and it facilitated communication for me and gave me full access to those classroom conversations. I was a poli sci, so lots of arguments there. And then this is probably what started it all. It's a smart home system. Actually, let me just show this really quick video. Let's do a testing for how this works. You press the Ring doorbell.
Your light starts blinking. Seems pretty easy to me.
Brilliant. This is revolutionary.
This is brilliant because now, like, if you're like in the kitchen or the bathroom or lying down and you've got the lights start blinking, you know what's going on.
All right, so I'm actually going to pause there because this was actually the very, very first sponsored project for Project Hearing, and I want to thank Raymond Blum from Google as well as Bench Surf. They were actually the very, very first people that believed in me and really sponsored this project. So they really were the fire that sponsored this conference in a way, like they just inspired this. So the smart home system is a tool that I've been building out, and basically what I do, I have this button right here. It says doorbell. It's a Samsung doorbell. And so what I do is that through smart technology, I connect the smart doorbell from Samsung to my Alexa, which now connects to my smart Philips Hue lights. So when I press the doorbell, my lights will blink to let me know that someone's at the door. Oh boy. Next is Google Meet. So if you've been following me, you will know that one of the things that I love working on is something that's called Chicas Talk Disability. So the girl that you see in the video there with the red shirt, her name is Catarina Rivera. We run a bi-weekly series called Chicas Talk Disability. So Catarina has Usher syndrome. I have my hearing disability, and together we host this bi-weekly chat where we talk about issues that affect our lives as professionals with hearing disabilities. One of the things that we're using is Google Meet to host our meetings because Google Meet provides closed captioning functionality. We use it for all of our meetings via video as well as any conference calls that we have to do. Revolutionary, and the captioning is A1. Next, we have Clip-O-Matic. So Clip-O-Matic is an application only available in it's only available on Apple phones. It's an application, it was actually one of the very first applications that focused on voice-to-text functionality for videos on media. So what you are able to see here is if you make a video and you want to just post it on social media immediately, instead of going through the process with the script and complain, you're able to just go on your Clip-O-Matic application and get these results in about a minute. It is so powerful. The only challenge with the Clip-O-Matic application is that you cannot submit videos that you have already created. So you have to make a video live, and also it's only available on Apple phones. Then here's Google Live Transcribe. So as a person with a hearing disability, I depend a lot on lip reading. Well, not a lot, but a good number. And because people use the mask, it's really difficult for me to understand sometimes and follow along. So one of the things that I do is that I use this revolutionary application that came out from Google. Dimitri from Google is going to be talking about it when he presents on Tuesday. So the way Google Live Transcribe works is that as I talk, it will basically transcribe for me. So I typically tend to give this to whoever's talking so that I can read and follow along. And best of all, it has almost every single language that I can think of. It's so powerful. But it's only available on select Android phones, and you cannot use it if you're an Apple user. Sorry. Then there's Google Live Caption. So this is one of my favorite things about the Pixel phone. So when you are scrolling on Instagram or Twitter, not everyone has closed caption content because again, not everyone knows how to create closed caption, and not everyone has access to those technologies. So with Google Live Caption, there is a feature on your phone. You press the volume button and it will immediately start transcribing using the Google transcribing API to just transcribe. You do not need to have access to sound with this technology. Next, we have Otter. Otter is so fascinating and so good. This is the Google Live Transcribe version. If you have an Apple phone and you want to be able to transcribe live on your Apple phone. So what Otter does is that you're able to click the record button and then it will start transcribing. It is very, very, very accurate. And then you're able to edit the caption file on Otter. It is a great tool if you're a podcaster, if you are editing videos, not videos, if you're editing a transcript, or if you're just working strictly on audio. Then we have Rev. Rev is a lifesaver. So if you have a video that is 30 minutes long, sitting on a computer, typing down and listening, even if you have this script, a 30-minute video, it adds up. So with Rev, you're able to submit your video to transcriptioning professionals who will provide that caption file for your video at the cost of $1.25 per minute. Then we have Web Captioner. So Web Captioner is basically using the same technology as Google Captioning API. So if you're using Google Live Transcribe on your phone, if you want to be able to have that same powerful technology, the powerful technology that runs Google Live Transcribe in, like, say, a projector or a big screen, Web Captioner would be the tool that you use for that. Then Grubhub, I just used this today. So Grubhub is a tool that I love because back in the day, you used to have to call a restaurant to place an order. And sometimes, you know, kitchens and restaurants, they get really busy. There's lots of action. Sometimes the person has a really heavy accent. It's way too much chaos. On Grubhub, you can go online. You can tell Grubhub when you want your order delivered, your address, and what kind of food you want to eat. You want pizza, sushi, they deliver everything in your vicinity. If the restaurant that you love is signed up to Grubhub. So you go online, put in your order, find food, place your order, get the food. It's really, really brilliant. My next tool is Yelp. So Yelp, so back in the day, you used to, and even today, you still depend on friends for advice and the best restaurants. Oh my God, Andy, what is the best sushi restaurant in town? I want to be able to take my mom out to eat sushi for her birthday. So in the past, I would have to depend on hearing from friends to learn about restaurants that had good reviews or maybe spas. No longer the case. Right now, if I want to find a good restaurant or a good place of business, I go on Yelp. I tell Yelp, this is what I'm looking for, and this is where I live. And then through Yelp, you're able to find all of the businesses in your vicinity. You're able to find their information. You're in terms of like their website, their address, and a link to be able to get to their Google Maps, etc. And then you're also able to see all of the reviews for that place that you're looking for. Love it, because you no longer have to depend on listening or contacting other people to get information. Next, this is a tool that I love. So backstory to this is that in the past, when my family and I used to play songs on the radio, my mom and my sister, they catch songs sooner than I did. But my mom has always believed that accessibility in our home is mandatory. It's not optional. So what she would do is that we had a video, we had a radio, and what she would do is that she would put a cassette player, record the song, and then rewind, play, rewind, play, rewind, play. And she would write down the lyrics by hand because she wanted me to have access to the song so that when everyone sang the song, I could sing along to the lyrics. With SoundHound, a song is playing in the background in the car with friends. I click on the SoundHound app and it will tell me the name of the artist, the lyrics to the song, and I'm able to follow along to the song karaoke style. It's facilitated my access and made me feel included in all of those road trips and karaoke trips that I've had with family and friends. Next, I'm going to talk about the Compilot. So the Compilot conveniently decided that it was going to die right before this presentation. So how the Compilot works is that I am able to put it around my neck. And so how it works is that because I hear basically through this piece that you see here is basically this. It's like a microphone. And so how the microphone works is if I am using a pair of headphones, for example, like this, my microphone is not ideal to connect with headphones. And so I am only able to use headphones like this so that my microphone catches sound. Through the Compilot, I am able to wirelessly stream directly from my phone or from music or from the computer or from any Bluetooth device directly into the Compilot, which then sends the sound directly into my ear. That allows me to maintain the quality of sound without sacrificing quality. Next, ZocDoc. I love ZocDoc because In the past, my sister, who has been an incredible ally for me for my entire life, in the past, I used to have to depend on my sister to schedule doctor's appointments for me. And to one time, I needed to go to the doctor, and my sister, what she would do is that she would pretend to be me over the phone. And I was scheduling this appointment, and the scheduler asked, "Do you have any symptoms?" And I had to answer that to my sister, and it felt like a huge invasion of privacy. No more. With ZocDoc, I'm able to take full ownership of my health. I'm able to put the doctor I'm looking for, the zip code that I'm in, the date that I am available to see a doctor, and my insurance carrier. ZocDoc is able to give me a full list of doctors within my network, and I am able to book an appointment for the same day. It's been revolutionary in giving me ownership over my health. Then we have the Medic Alert bracelet, this bracelet that I have here. So I have a magnet inside my head. And what that means is that if I am ever in a car accident, God forbid, and I have trouble communicating, there's a magnet inside my head. And what typically happens if you're in a car accident is you will get something that's called an MRI. An MRI machine basically uses electromagnetic pulse to really check for organ damage, bone damage. It basically does a very thorough examination of the body. But because I have a metal in my head and I am put in an MRI machine, could possibly pull the magnet right out of my body, which would not be a good thing. So I use this Medic Alert, and I've used this since I was about 8 years old. And I've never had a reason to use it, but better to be proactive and safe. And basically, it has all of my information. It says a code. It has an 800 number. It says I have a cochlear implant on my right ear. It lists all of my allergies, and it's an amazing tool that gives me a lot of peace of mind. Then we have Caption Fish. Caption Fish is a tool that lets you know about all of the accessible movie theaters for people with hearing disabilities in your area. So you're able to put your area, and then it will list all of the movie theaters and what tools they have available. So if you're going on a date and you want to be able to have accessibility at the movie theater, check out Caption Fish. Google Maps. I cannot tell you how many times when I was learning how to drive, someone would yell out, "Turn left, right here." So confusing. So with Google Maps, I am able to put the address I am going to. I do not need to rely on hearing for instructions, and it really gives me a sense of ownership to know that I am in control when I am driving. I'm not going to miss an exit. I'm not going to make the wrong turn. I'll know exactly when to turn on what street. An incredible tool for accessibility. Then the Cochlear Americas Aqua case. So I use a device called a cochlear implant from Advanced Bionics. They are incredible in terms of the technology that they have available. It's incredible. But as a person that loves going to the beach, loves going to the lake, and also as a person that doesn't particularly like chords, Advanced Bionics currently offers an option for something called the Neptune, which is a waterproof case. But one of the things that I would really love to be able to have is a device from Cochlear America. So right here is a silicone case to put around the cochlear implant, the device that I use. And I love this tool, and I'm so jealous of all the Cochlear America's users that are able to go to the lake and the beach with this really cool silicone mold and just be able to engage with other people at the beach. I'm sure Advanced Bionics will get there soon. Then we have Google Slides. So Google Slides is a really powerful tool that you should be using for accommodations. So as you can see, do you see at the bottom of my slide how there are captioning showing up? So one of the things that I want to note is that accessibility is not always accessible. The cost of real-time captioning is anywhere from $80 to $150 an hour. And that can be really cost prohibitive for a number of people. So if you are in a classroom or you're in a lecture or a presentation or a meetup and somebody's providing slides, you're able to just go in your Google Slides and at the very bottom, click on this button right here, turn that on, and you immediately get captioning on your slide. It's not as good as human transcription, but it's pretty good. The next tool I'm going to talk about is another tool that I have for emergencies that I have in my car. By the way, don't forget, tomorrow we are having Andy who will be talking about emergency preparedness as a person with a hearing disability. So this is a tool that I have in my car. It's just another precaution in case anything happens, that I am prepared. Being prepared is better than being caught in a situation. So what I have here is a seatbelt cover. It says deaf without my cochlear implants, no MRI, and open in emergency. In there, I have listed the contact information of the people that need to be contacted if I have an emergency. Then we have YouTube. So if you have one of those long 25, 30-minute videos that you need caption, one of the things that you can do is submit your video file into YouTube. Once you go on YouTube, there will be a functionality within that video that will provide automatic transcription tools. So you're able to do that from your YouTube studio and then edit the caption file instead of having to start from scratch. It is free and it is amazing. One of the things that you can do also is you can go on YouTube, create that caption file, similarly to how you would in the script, take that caption file and then burn the captions in using Kapwing. Then we have chat customer support. This is one of my favorite features and all businesses should have this. I actually did a screenshot of this from Advanced Bionics, my cochlear implant manufacturer. So again, talking over the phone is the #1 challenge of people with hearing disabilities. So having a chat feature open and available is incredible in facilitating access to your clients. I have seen a number of audiologist firms, I'm not going to be naming names, that still require you to call in to schedule an appointment. What? And then if you send an email, it's 3 to 4 business days to get a response. Let's work on this. There should be a live chat functionality. It should be no different than picking up the phone to call in to make an appointment. Then we have the FM unit. So this is my magic wand. It's called a Roger pen, and I love it because the way to use the Roger pen is connected to my Compilot. So I would turn on my Compilot if it was working, and how it will work is that, let's say I'm in a conference meeting, I will be able to move my mic in the direction that I want to be able to hear. So as I'm having a conversation, maybe at a happy hour with friends or at a meeting with my colleagues, I will move the direction in the direction of the sound that I want to hear. And I would be able to hear in that direction. It's really, really powerful, and I absolutely love my Roger pen. This is a Roger pen from Phonak. You have to use it in conjunction with your Compilot. Next, and this is the most powerful tool of all, which is self-advocacy. In order for you to be accommodated, in order for you to be included, in order for you to have the access that you need to self-advocate. And so one of the things that I have been doing to be my own best self-advocate is to create my Project Hearing page which I think all of you should go ahead and follow. It's where I create videos and content to talk about all of these tools, to talk about the history, the work that I'm doing to highlight other people in this movement. And you will be getting a lot more content for Project Hearing on my page. So go ahead and support me. And with just 48 seconds remaining, woo, I did it. If you are interested in connecting with me, I want you to go ahead and follow me on the Facebook page. You can follow me on Instagram. And if you want to talk more, please follow me on my email at hello@projecthearing.com. And let me just finish that. And with all of that said, we are done with my presentation, but we still need to close out. So between that quick interjection, Seth or Patrick, do you guys want to take over as host so I can read through the messages?
I am happy to jump in and take over as host. The conversation has been so, it's just been very inspiring, starting with Kathleen's presentation and finishing with your call for advocacy and your steps for the future. I think there's a lot going on everyone's mind. There's a ton of questions in the chat. We're doing our best to answer everyone's question. Some of them are a bit easier than others. So we may have asked you to send us your email address so that we can respond further. We have your information since you registered for this event. So expect that a little later on, possibly during the week of August 2nd, you'll receive an email with a more thorough and thoughtful response. I would not want us to ignore something as important as a question about intersectionality or about how exactly tech can advocate for those with hearing loss. But I also want to make sure that answer is the best it can be. So do bear with us as we send out those responses once the conference is over. Keep sending those questions and we'll tend to what we can while we're here. I think, Mariella, there's a question specifically for you about the software that we use. Sorensen, Wavelo, Purple, and etc. This software is for requesting an interpreter to interpret for you over phone calls.
Hold on, I'm going to have to turn on the subtitles now. Hold on. All right. So can you repeat the question?
No worries. The question is, can we, us, Project Hearing, note the knowledge that we can use video phone call through Sorensen, Purple, and etc. for requesting an interpreter to interpret for you over the phone calls? And Wavelo is another example.
Okay, so this is the challenge here. I was paying attention to the captions. They were not very accurate. So I think I'm just going to focus on what you just said. Can you repeat that one third time? I'm so sorry.
One more thing, the question that I'm reading to you, I've typed into the chat.
Okay.
We're still looking at your questions, so continue to send them in. Thank you so, so much.
Okay, Seth, the question that is written in the chat, it says something with Purple Act. Oh, Purple technology. I was so confused. Okay, I was like, what? It's like when, you know, when you're on YouTube and then the YouTube caption goes refrigerator, banana, purple. I'm like, what is purple? What's she talking about? So let me repeat that again. Yes, so I am aware about the purple technology. One of the things that I am not a huge fan of for the purple technology, however, is that there seems to be a delay between the time you answer and the time there's a response. And unfortunately, there have been some situations where a person on the other end can get a bit frustrated with that. So I like to use more live technology. I've noticed it's a bit more accurate when I use Google Meet. It's much faster. But these are all questions. I want to be very, very respectful of time because I need to hold myself to the same standard. I'm going to be hosting the other speakers too. So in order to be very respectful of time, if you have any other questions, then I will be reviewing the questions. I will be answering privately. If you have a question, I will email you if you want. But for right now, that is the closeout. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen one more time. Share. So I want to remind everyone that we are recording this presentation. Everything has been recorded. If you took any pictures or any videos, please be sure to tag us at #HAIC2020. Tomorrow, we are going to be having 2 spectacular workshops. One is going to be from Jennifer, who will be talking on behalf of the Global Alliance of Speech-to-Text Captioning. She is brilliant. She is a stenographer, so she will also be talking about the experience of being in this industry, being a stenographer herself. We are also going to be having Andy presenting. So I have Andy, who is my boyfriend, and then I have Andy, who is one of my closest friends. We know each other from work, and Andy is a total amazing emergency preparedness person. He also has a hearing disability and he uses hearing aids, and he's all about emergency preparedness and CPR and earthquake, and he does everything. And he will be leading us on a workshop on emergency preparedness when you have a hearing disability. And he will be talking about things like how you should be stocking up on hearing aid batteries instead of toilet paper. But also, if you're interested in continuing the conversation, go to bit.ly/HAICC convo. So HAIC convo, hearing access and inclusion convo. The link is right in the share out that I have in here. We can also share that out via email. We also have a survey, what you liked today, what you didn't like, what we could do better. Let us know in the survey. All of the tools that we talk about today will be mailed out, so don't worry about writing down, oh my God, what was that tool she talked about? We will be emailing this to you. In addition to that, I am trying to work with all of the people that I mentioned in my presentation to see if we can get discounts. All right. And then finally, if you need to contact us, go ahead and email us at hearingaic@gmail.com. I want to give a huge, huge thank you for the first day of the conference to this amazing team that I have. So Seth, Patrick, and Natasha, I hope you guys are ready to do this 6 more days because it's 7 days of just pure accessibility and inclusion awesomeness. And I also want to give a very special thank you to Google, who is sponsoring us today for closed captioning. And with the interpreters, and the interpreters have been amazing. You guys are wonderful. Thank you so much for facilitating accessibility and inclusion. And with all of that, we will see you tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday to close out the workshop. And we will definitely see you we'll see you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So for the remainder of the week. And with that said, we are done for day number 1. Bye-bye and see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. So I'm going to play some background music and we're gonna close everything out.